everyone. Today we'll have a small talk on the book The Forbidden Phase Growing Up Under the Taliban by Latifa. It's a memoir. Afghanistan has always been a country where normal life has become quite impossible since the Cold War in 1978. Since then, lots of powerful nations have come and invaded Afghanistan, which has, as a result of which, Afghanistan has turned out to be a country in debris. The Soviet forces, the Mujahideen, the civil wars, the United Nations, and many other Arab countries have played power games on Afghanistan in their own ways. In 1996, Taliban arrived hanging Najibullah, who did not have much of an influence amongst his subjects, and Taliban ruled for almost 5 years, to which the global world had lent a deaf ear. Latifa, in her autobiographical novel The Forbidden Phase, narrates the condition of Afghani people, especially women, under Taliban extremist rule. The novel begins on 27th September 1996, 9 a.m., when the white flag, which symbolizes the Taliban rule, is flown over Kabul, and the normalcy of the life of the people in Afghan gets destroyed. The statelessness to which each citizen is subjected to is well portrayed at the very beginning of the novel itself, when Latifa's cousin Farhad comes and violently taps the door to announce the arrival of Taliban. The influence that America had on their lives is nostalgically placed alongside the oppressive government of Taliban. Any calamity, whether man-made or natural, has its worst effect on women. The normative order of patriarchy is even more strengthened at times of crisis. Taliban was a perfect example where women were being treated worse than anything. Patriarchy, especially in South Asian countries, work in sort of a dyadic relationship between husband and wife, the familial circle to which the in-laws and relatives belong, the workplace structure where unequal wages are meted out, the religious circle where religious leaders, obviously men, interprets to preserve their vested interests, political system where women are seldom visible. The Forbidden Phase reflects women under Taliban regime, where they are turned into homo sacer who did not have any visibility in political governance. They couldn't even step outside the confines of their domestic space. The masculine power structure is well narrated throughout the pronouncements and actions of the Taliban. Women, before the arrival of Taliban, had a very important role in the society. They were agents of their own lives. But with the entry of Taliban into the scene, they were bereft of their identity and selfhood. The women in Afghanistan were compelled or were ordered to wear burqa, covered so completely that they cannot even see through their eyes. The straight-looking posture which any chadar symbolizes leaves women no option to see different angles and different directions. Women become so invisible and lack agency under the dress code which Taliban brings for them. She is trapped inside her body and is seen just as a body and nothing more. The attire which no woman has chosen but has been coerced into wearing by the Taliban forces become a spitting symbol of oppression in the novel. The punishments, which ranges from whipping to molesting in public without any sort of guilt consciousness, is how the normal life, the organic life of common women of Afghanistan gets torn into pieces. The rights of women were quashed and invalidated under the pretext of Islamic rule and Sharia laws. Religious and political dominance through the distortion and false interpretation of Sharia and Islam affects the lives of women the most. The Althusserian ideological state apparatus takes up a key role in creating an ideology by false consciousness, and this is being imposed upon women, and they are compelled to accept it as true. Women are barred from getting educated, getting employed, even getting out of their domestic spheres. Fear becomes the order of the time. Of 1997, just 4 months after the Taliban takeover, Latifa was finally persuaded to venture out into the streets of Kabul when Sabir, Farida, Suraya, or 4 of them passed 4 women being flogged for no reason. Sabir explained to Farida that Taliban beats women for wearing white shoes. White was the color of Taliban flag, and white shoes meant they were trampling on the flag. Women had no mahram to accompany them along the streets, were also flogged by the Taliban. Women who did not have fathers, did not have husbands, brothers or sons alive had no choice except to go out to meet their lives. One of Suraya's former friend Nafisa and her 3 cousins were captured by the Talibs during an offensive on the Shamali plain, where a band of almost 15 men raped them all and mutilated their genitals. After another rape incident, an Afghan woman was forced to marry her rapist. Latifa's teacher, Miss Fauzia, was beaten for running an underground school. They broke her legs by throwing her down the stairs of a building and dragged her off by the hair and threw her in prison and forced her to sign a statement saying that she would never disobey Taliban law again. If she did not confess her sin of educating children, they said that they would stone her entire family to death in public. The public spaces such as schools, markets, offices were forbidden for women during the Taliban regime. Despite all these oppression against women, Latifa takes up the responsibility of educating children by starting an underground school inside her home. Women like Latifa, through a sort of a violent revolution, are trying to repossess the public realm which once belonged to women. Educating Taliban children was a powerful step that she had taken to get back her own identity and the identity of the whole of women. Narrating her own life is a means by which she is trying to regain her own voice, her own agency and her own selfhood, which has been denied to her by the Taliban regime. Unveiling her tragedy, she is unveiling the tragedy of a nation, a community and gender. But in a sense, the voice through which she speaks out on the one hand is also voiceless, because through narrating their own lives, they need to hush up their real identity. Many of the Afghani writers, especially women writers, write under pseudonym because they want to live, they want to let their kith and kin, their relatives, remain alive in a land which is torn itself into pieces. Now, this is a very interesting book to read, a kind of a factual as well as fictional representation of women under the Taliban regime. It's a very beautiful beautiful kind of a page turner kind of a writing. I do recommend you to read this particular book and post comments on that in the comment box below. Thank you all.